Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I am the GM Philosopher, and today I want to talk about how you can create amazing NPCs that your players will love, will engage with, perhaps fear, right, if we're talking about a villain. And I'm working on an NPC right now that I have run in one of my campaigns, and her time has kind of come and gone. She was in the campaign sort of helping the party with an investigation. She was a warden investigator in the city of Amaranthine, which is a city in my kind of like my world build that I'm building. And I just want to show you what I'm creating. So I'm just going to project it onto the screen here, and I'm going to kind of go over this with you. Now, this is not done yet. I've spent a little bit of time working on this today, maybe, it's taken me about an hour. I'm no graphic designer, but I do love laying out my NPC sheets like this. And I just want to kind of show you how I do this. So I generate this image in MidJourney. I put this in Canva to create kind of the layout. I created this background in MidJourney, and I've got some stats here. Now, I like to make sure that these stats are available, and I like to kind of try to keep everything on one sheet if I can, because during play, I don't want to have to like rifle through a bunch of sheets to look for her stats, right? And this goes for all of my NPCs. I try to have a sheet for all of my NPCs. Now, I've really kind of fleshed this out. I've included, obviously, pretty much all of our information. I sometimes don't do that. Sometimes I only put the bare basic stuff in. Like sometimes I only include like their gear and then their spells, stuff like that, and their money, right? But I'm laying this out in a manner that I could kind of like, make look pretty and have all the information there. And so I just want to show you what I'm doing. Now I'm going to read you this backstory. I love creating backstories for NPCs, and I think that this is part of what makes NPCs come alive for players, okay? So here's the backstory on this one. Before she was born, Lillian shared her mother's womb with a twin sister. However, partway through the pregnancy, the two babies became embroiled in a bitter struggle for power within the womb. Lillian killed her sister, thereby absorbing her magical essence. But in the midst of the struggle, her unborn sister scratched out her eyes with her fingernails. As a result, Lillian was born with greater magical potential, but she has also been blind from birth, though she has learned magical abilities that allow her to see visually in certain circumstances. Lillian has spent her life in the pursuit of magical knowledge. Her master, a mysterious elf and a devout practitioner in the ways of assassination, poisoning, and magical subterfuge, was a brutal taskmaster who expected Lillian to always perform at the highest possible level. This upbringing forged her into a strong, resilient, proud, and stubborn spellcaster who believes that in order to control your destiny, you need to be the strongest and the best prepared. She sees feelings like empathy as a weakness and strives to emotionally detach herself from all circumstances in life. She believes that the only true purpose for life is to obtain as much knowledge and power as possible, and the only reason to be kind to others is to gain allies on your ascension to power and greatness. So that's just some background I put in there, and the reason I put that in there is because this helps you to kind of lay the groundwork for how you would run an NPC like this. Like this character is cold, she's calculating, she has a goal and an objective, and in this campaign, she actually approached the players because they were sort of unknowingly caught up in the middle of kind of like this murder investigation because they were immigrants and the murderer was targeting immigrants. And because they seemed relatively well equipped and could handle themselves well, she figured she might use them as bait to catch this murderer. And the reason she wanted to catch this murderer was because if she did, she would get a promotion to a higher office, from warden investigator to a higher office. And she was trying to ascend the hierarchy of the magicarchy of Amaranthine. But anyway, so that's kind of the story. And the thing about her was that, so she had this way of like, there was always something behind the screen, right? Like she would interact with the players and there would always be this mystery and have them roll insight checks. And I would always say little things like, well, what she's telling you seems to be true, but it does seem like she's hiding something. And the characters were always like, what is she hiding? Like, and what she was ultimately hiding was the fact that she was actually just really going to use them as bait, and their lives didn't really matter to her. All she wanted to do was end the investigation and get her promotion. So while she did kind of like help the players, she also wasn't necessarily their friend, right? So anyway, that really drew the players in. With that being said, she was also a formidable spellcaster, and there were times when the party would be in a fight and she would come in and help by casting, kind of higher level spells, and she would kind of come on their side. So they grew to have sort of a begrudging, limited, but also real trust in relationship with her. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of finish laying this out, and I'm going to show this to you when it gets done, and maybe you'll like it, and that'd be super cool. But I like to lay out my NPC sheets like this so I can kind of keep track of them. And one interesting thing about her, and I love this, is that she's blind, but I created this, like, I don't know, there's probably been spells like this in the past, but I guess I homebrewed a spell where she has learned that she can see kind of using her magical abilities. And what she does is, like, once per day, she can touch her forehead and a third eye will open, because she always wears a blindfold because she literally has no eyes. So she has to wear a blindfold. And usually she wears a veil over her face because she just looks a bit unsightly with just wearing, or she'll wear like lacy blindfolds and things like that to try to appear like prettier, more attractive, because she's kind of like, she likes to put off an air of being fancy, of being highborn, even though she's actually very, very lowborn, but she was raised by a highborn master. Her parents gave her to a wizard master at a very early age so she could learn the arts of magic, because it was determined that she had great magical potential. But she has the spell where she can touch her forehead and open like an arcane eye so that she can view her surroundings. So, for example, she will, like, during the investigation, the first time the players saw this was when they were brought into a morgue and there was one of the victims from the murders, and she came in to investigate and she opened her arcane eye and examined the body, and the players were like, what is going on? And then the eye like looks around and blinks, and then once the spell ends, it just goes away and morphs back into her smooth forehead. So this is a fun, cool NPC, very interesting. The players were very intrigued by her, but they were also a little afraid of her because they didn't really know, like, is she going to turn on us? She seems really powerful. She also commands like a platoon of warden soldiers, like warden investigator soldiers. So she had like a captain and then 4 knights at her command. So wherever she went, she had like a carriage, and then these knights would ride along with her. So she was kind of a formidable presence. But anyway, so I hope you enjoy this, just a little glance into how I create NPCs, and I hope that you like this. And if it's cool and it turns out really good, I might share it in another video. So there you go. Have a great one. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Hit that like and subscribe button for more videos. I'm back here every day sharing my favorite anecdotes about D&D. Have a good one.